Far north, an ancient extraterrestrial race present on the Earth to this day. This is what the ancients in the ancient Greeks called hyperborea. They believed the extraterrestrials and Atlanteans were from there. Far north as an area and far north as the inhabitants of this area. These are names that come from Greek mythology and could mean beyond the north, hyperborea, or above the north, beyond the North Pole, above the north, and beyond or above the north wind. Interpretations that have less to do with what the ancient mythologists may have meant, but with how modern interpretations attempt to understand it. But everyone agrees that in Earth's current geography, the far north could be somewhere in the north, near the north, or around the North Pole. Of course, both the far north and the far north are considered the mythical city, which existed only in the imagination of the ancients, such as Atlantis and Lemuria, and consequently for skeptics, what follows can easily be a new mythological approach and nothing more. For the rest, perhaps, they are indications of an unknown reality of an unknown past that, however, could touch the today. And it seems that perhaps it was not only the Greeks who referred to the far north. There is a possibility that other sources give some information about a culture that lived in these northern areas without always being sure that they show the same ancient or even mythical culture. If this culture has indeed been described by others, then we learn that the far north they were quite tall. The people of the north were quite tall, had blue eyes, blonde hair, and very white skin. The society was very well organized with constant development, with a special love for the arts and sciences, with love and respect for man, as they had developed relationships with people beyond their own race. Their DNA must have been such that they probably knew neither old age nor disease. They cultivated the spirit and the heart. They were very psychic beings, spiritual beings. It's said, in fact, that the far north is a long-lived people living about 14 million years. There's a paradox in this wonderful kingdom. While it was theoretically located somewhere in the northern regions of our planet, which today we know to be cold and icy, then in those years, eternal spring prevailed and the sun shone 24 hours a day. Another strange thing is that while everyone knew where the far north was, it was almost impossible to get there because this area was protected by huge transparent ice walls. Even those who did get there had succeeded with means of transportation that were not conventional, that is, those used by many people. There was quite sophisticated guarding and specialized security that did not allow entry to anyone who did not have them, the pass to entry. Now, it was a tribe that lived peacefully, without war, and above all, without participating in other wars or putting wicks to ignite wars in foreign areas in order to serve their own interests. An exception to this are the Griffins, with whom they were in a constant defensive war because they threatened to snatch the gold of their country. It's said that they built underground tunnels on various continents and had access to places from which they extracted energy and or whatever they used, and turned it into a positive for the planet's beings, or even a kind of free energy. In fact, there are modern claims that somewhere in those tunnels there are gates which were used to transport them to other places, even beyond Earth, that is, time portals or stargates. Some researchers claim that the far north may have coexisted, the far northern people may have coexisted for some time with the powerful civilizations of Atlantis, Lemuria, and the ancient Greeks at a time when Apollo had many contacts with them, in fact exchanging much knowledge. It's argued that Hyperborea, the far north, is not a legend, but it still exists. It has not been lost. After the sinking of Atlantis, it's very likely that they took care to live somewhere else on Earth, where one can only reach by following the underground tunnels they built. Now, we know that there have been underground tunnels found from Scotland all the way to Europe and then all the way down to the Giza Plateau of Egypt. And Greece, where I live right now, has I bought a book on the underground tunnels of Greece, and I lost it. I don't know where I put it, but I didn't read it. I was just looking at the maps. Greece is riddled with underground tunnels, and nobody even knows who built these underground tunnels. Some of them are so big that you can fit what the ancients used to use to make carpets, these huge looms, which are as big as a room, and they're quite tall as well. You could fit a chariot going through it. Now here they say they were already preparing to move inside the planet. Maybe they are somewhere in favor of the north, that is, above the North Hyperborea, essentially in a state that does not step on Earth, but flies above it. It's very probable, as a conjecture, that some of the descendants who remained and survived on the surface, or who came to the surface over time in the course of our human history, adapted to different parts of the world when they mingled with inhabitants, different regions of the planet. I guess this refers also to Genesis 6, the Nephilim and the Genesis giants. We know that the Denisovans in Siberia were very tall people. Now, perhaps here, the only known point that connects the then and the today, the myth with the history, is the visit of the far northern Avar or Pythagoras in a way to learn, as Imblicus mentions, while until for a time they did not stop and handed over what they had done. They had with Delos, an island in the Aegean, according to Herodotus. If such information could be true, and only if, then the hypothesis that the far north Hyperborea still exists somewhere on our planet, in or above it, could possibly be substantiated, in it or above it, in the skies, that is. If some of the above reports could have even some nuggets of truth, overcoming the taboo of the fairy tale, quote-unquote, we would not rule out the possibility that the far north Hyperborea is the people of that area are an alien race which still exists from the distant past until today. And I've translated this for you from a Greek article. This is again Greek mythology, but who knows how much truth was in this. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.